Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Citizens Corner. This one's going to be kind of a bit of a hybrid, because first we're going to talk about the Tumbril a little bit, and then we're going to get into some of your questions and just kind of go from there. First of all, the Tumbril's got some interesting features. One of the things that is kind of nice about it is the way the wheels actually kind of pop out a little bit, kind of like scoops. There was a toy when I was a kid that had these little, it was like a little RC cars that you'd play around with. When they get stuck in an obstacle, these claws would pop out and it would climb over. That reminds me a lot of that toy. I don't remember the name. Maybe I'll find a picture, maybe I won't. But anyway, Lightning, what do you think of the vehicle so far, what you've seen?
Well, unfortunately, as all the new ground vehicles they release, it looks good, but I don't want to do anything with it. It's got terrible coverage for the passenger and the driver. If you have the gunner version, the guy is completely exposed from the back, from the tops, the sides, everywhere. The only protection he has is the small amount on the sides and a little bit in the front. And even not even that, if you look at the picture, if you could shoot between the seats, I bet you'd be, blasting him in the legs and the junk. So, as far as a ground-only vehicle, I mean, yeah, it looks fine and stuff. Again, they have their obsession with having a race car variant of everything. I don't know why. I don't think racing is going to be that big of a deal. Yeah,
they're planning, they said, of putting up tracks on the ground. So, off-road tracks, I think, is what they kind of want to do. So, I mean,
it just doesn't look like a race car to me. It looks like a rally car, if anything.
Yeah. I mean, I could see it as a rally. Now, of all the variants here, you have the default, the CYC, which is your cargo carrying one, which to me seems probably be the most useful as far as why you would have the vehicle. You have the TR, which is the turret, and that's probably my second favorite. The RC is the racing one. The RN this is an interesting model because what the RN has is basically a large sensor scanning disc on the top of it, and basically it acts as like a freelancer DIR or something, but for planetary exploration. So personally speaking, or Terrapin, good point. But for me personally speaking, I'd rather just kind of, if I was using I'd rather use a ship to scan an area and then land and know where I'm going. But I can see where in certain circumstances this might come in pretty handy. And you have the one that I think is my least favorite, which is the AA, or the anti-aircraft one. It's got a couple missile launchers in the back, and the problem I have with that one is the same problem I have with most things. Is first of all, the missile mechanics right now aren't very good. So if I was basing it on right now, I'd have to say it'd be pretty useless. But also, obviously, you're stuck with a limitation in ammo. And then once you're out of ammo, what does that do for you? Not too much. So that's probably my least favorite one. I'd rather have like the driver had a rail gun on him. That'd be way more useful than the anti-missiles, in my opinion. But yeah, so one of the things I see here that's going to be a problem with this, besides the fact that the cockpit is kind of open, which does make you vulnerable. Now, once again, I hate to always have to reference back to this, but it seems that in some regards, with open world architecture, this is a good game to pull from. Grand Theft Auto 5, now Lightning, remember those commissions you do with the buggies, like delivery missions and whatnot?
Yeah, and the new Gunrunners DLC, some of the missions will give you a buggy to either chase down vehicles or do delivery. And while it has amazing coverage from the back, you can't really shoot anything from behind you because the passenger is locked into a forward-facing gun, and the driver should be really trying to be focusing on driving and not shooting backwards.
Yeah.
But if you get stopped or slowed down or anything, you instantly die because you have no protection from the front or sides.
Right, and this is the exact same scenario I see here. But there's another thing about this vehicle, I guess, which to me makes it inferior to the Ursa rover, is that without a sealed cockpit, basically, if you're in a toxic environment, you're completely exposed. Now, yes, you could wear a suit, but if that suit gets penetrated at all, then you're dealing with toxins pouring into your suit. So the extra layer of protection for having a sealed off environment, plus the Ursa rover has that turret on the top, and the ability to carry more people in the back / cargo. To me, the Ursa rover is still kind of the king when it comes to ground vehicles.
The easiest way to fix this vehicle?
Cockpit glass?
You add glass and a door.
Yeah.
And if they're true to their word and they don't go back on this, the glass will be stronger than the armor. So it'll be like, oh well, don't shoot at the glass because it's just going to bounce right off. You know, you shoot at the engine block or something.
I agree. And you make that turret, like for the turret version, an enclosed space with a dome. Basically, that, you know, it's basically like a turret you see on a gladiator. It needs to be sealed up because we're dealing with space and hostile environments, and I don't know. To me, that's the biggest weakness, if there is a weakness at all. And but overall, I like the aesthetic. I think it's a very interesting design. The wheels are particularly interesting, and one of the best deals I see here that they have. Now, for those of you who don't actually have a variety of ground vehicles, the best deal I see here, in my opinion, is the Off-Road Vehicle Pack War Bond LTI. Now, what this pack entails for $90 is the turreted version of the Tumbril, a Grey Cat, an Ursa Rover, which once again is awesome, the Taketsu Cyclone model, Tumbril Cyclone poster, and LTI on all of these. So it's worth it just to get, you know, if you think about what the cost of the Ursa Rover with LTI and you throw in those other two vehicles, that's a good deal. That's if you don't have ground vehicles yet and you're looking for something a little bit more hardy than, say, the Nox or the Dragonfly, I think that might be one worth looking at, because for $90 you're getting 3 ground vehicles with LTI, and yeah, that's a good deal. I mean, that's something definitely worth considering. $90. So let's go ahead and jump into your questions. Now that we've kind of addressed that. All right, our first question is from Stephen Pritchard. I'm all for people being able to log out anywhere, but then comes combat logging. If it's a choice, I'd rather only beds to log out safely. Yeah, and I totally get that's why CIG wants to have the bed mechanic. They don't want people doing combat logging. Anyone who's played DayZ or whatnot knows that when someone you get someone trapped or whatever in a house, they can just basically log out right there, and there's nothing you can do about it. This is an option basically to keep people from abusing logging out to stay safe. But as some other people had said, talking about the bed situations, they go, why can't I have like a bedroll or a knapsack or you know, some sort of sleeping bag that I can use when I'm on one of these ships as well, just to kind of give other people the option to log out. I wouldn't have any real issues with that. I don't see why that wouldn't be plausible. But I have the general idea that in some regards that the beds they're going about slightly the wrong way. They used to say that if you had 4 people on a ship, you'd only need 2 beds because basically they could sleep in shifts. So to me, the idea that 1 bed should count for basically 2 people. For every bed that you have on there, you should be able to log 2 people out. Just in the sense of like the idea that they're taking shifts. And that would open up the capacity a little bit on some of these ships that seem to have more crew in there than beds. What do you think?
Well, unfortunately, they go double back on their own words, because they said if an NPC is in there, NPC is in there. So if you have to log out, well, I can't because there's an NPC in my bed. Yeah,
and that's an issue right there, yeah.
My thing is, if you're going to be playing as a fighter, you're probably not going to be playing for very long, or you're going to be playing an Arena Commander, you know, whatever. If you want just to jump in, play around for a little bit, you know, Arena Commander, Star Marine, whatever, some of those things are in there. But if you have like an hour or so, you know, you can do like 1 or 2 missions. But if you're in a fighter, hopefully you know, plan enough time to go and be like, okay, well, you know, after I do this mission, I have to go back and land or log off. It's kind of like the older style of MMOs where you had the resting bonus where you wanted to log off in the town. It's kind of the same thing. But yeah, I mean, if you just Alt F4 in space, I mean, yeah, eventually, you know, your ship will be quote-unquote saved in there, but you're going to persist in the PU, and, you know, if like, oh, I don't want to fight this thing, haha, I'll just Alt F4, and no, you're going to get blown up, so you're going to log back in and you're dead. No, I imagine, and I'm pretty sure they've said this, is that you will eventually be logged off the server if you just have to go. They're not going to punish you for that. So if something comes up and you have to get away,
well, like with the small fighters, they said that if you log out in deep space, the small fighter, you'll basically start back at the nearest station, the last station you went to.
There's that as well.
Yeah, and so, yeah, I definitely think that with the system, to some regards, you're going to see the limitations that fighters present. They're not going to be as overall useful as some people think they may be. As far as any long-range operations, you know, honestly, as much as I've not enjoyed the direction a ship like the Vanguard has gone, the Vanguard would probably end up being one of the more useful ones, at least as far as escorts go, because it'll be able to keep pace with all these ships. Zen Airs Zulu says, how is CIG going to deal with griefers and jerks, people who are playing Star Citizen their way, not the right way, which is Chris's way? Well, the first thing CIG will need to do is look at exactly what is being done, what is griefing, what is being done within that, and then try to adjust for it. But the problem is that a lot of online games, most online games that I know of, the more rules they lay down to try to deal with griefers find more loopholes to get around them, and the only people that get hamstrung are the good players who basically are stuck now in this more confining rule set. Now, of course, obviously they need to deal with people doing ramming to just be jerks. They got there with their Aurora and whatnot. And it sounds like to a degree that's kind of what they're doing, because the more ships that get destroyed per day or whatever, the greater the multiplier on the insurance. But really, I mean, ramming an Aurora face first into the cockpit of a reclaimer, obviously he's hurting a lot more than you are. You could throw Auroras at people like that all day, and you can pay out of pocket and probably have a good laugh if that's your thing.
If they really want to get rid of it, they need to get rid of contact damage. Just flat up.
You know, that would be a bad idea. At a certain point, if someone keeps ramming, then they just basically need to go ahead and, well, you know, why don't they approach it like
World of Warships, World of Tanks.
I was thinking of Titan. Was it whatever the mech game was, where you run around foot and you jump into the mechs. It's on consoles. Titanfall, thank you. I had half of it right. Basically, where they take all the people who are causing problems and they throw them on their own separate server, and they say, here's the rammers, here's the slammers, here's the people who just do whatever they want, whenever they want, and you can all play together and just have fun ramming into each other.
But if you have that argument, why isn't there just a PvE server where ramming damage is disabled?
Yeah, I totally get that too. And I said, I'm not against the idea of a PvE server, because I think you'll grab a larger market share of players out there. Because even World of Warcraft, 55% of the servers out there are PvE based. And that's a lot of people who just don't have a direct interest in PvP. So I think, you know, you're not going to hurt your PvP servers numbers, because those people are going to play that anyway. And they're going to be people who are just kind of like, I want to do some PvE and I want to do some PvP. They're going to want to play in a PvP server. But there's those people who won't even ever buy the game because they don't want to deal with people ramming them. They don't want to deal with getting ganked because they're out mining with a prospector and some guy decides to blow them up because of reasons. So those people may not even ever pick up the game, knowing that they just can't go be a miner without a player attacking them. Now, it doesn't mean they don't want to challenge. People like challenges. It's just that they don't want to deal with an attitude. It's not about the challenge. In fact, I'm sure even if you ramped up the difficulty of the AI in a PvE server, they'd still be inclined to take that. It's the attitude they're trying to avoid. They want to work with people and not against them. But anyway, yeah, what they can do with this situation, it's tricky. It really is, because I said a lot of games where I've seen that they try to deal with griefers and things like that, the rules that go into place end up really kind of hamstringing everyone else but the griefers, because they always find a way around it. You know, can flippers in Eve, for example. There's always a way. Mr. Lynch says, so the shipjacker concept has a lot of cybernetics, and what we can expect of our character after a few lives or leading up to permadeath. Yeah, and actually now you point that out, the shipjacker might be someone who's, you know, on the edge of not being able to be quote-unquote resurrected anymore. But it also might be a template for CIG establishing what cybernetic parts look like, while also creating a character out of them. Because as you take damage, basically you're supposed to have arms and legs and stuff replaced over time with cybernetics. So this might be a way for them to kill two birds with one stone. I mean, I might be wrong on that. Do you think that's kind of correct, Lightning?
Well, this is another thing where they've said one thing and then they've said another thing, and it's like maybe they didn't tell us their upgrade process. Because I remember a while ago when like Death of the Spaceman was first posted. It was a good post. And they were talking about like, oh, you know, really high-end, you know, cybernetic parts, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. But if you're out in like, you know, middle of nowhere, you're not going to have access to those high-level things, so you'll start having like, you know, like robotic pieces start showing up. So it's interesting that they say that, because I don't think they really know what they want to do quite yet.
No, I don't think it's fully fleshed out. I think they have a general direction. I don't think they have a refined final product. But you know, what they showed in the shipjacker wasn't too bad. I mean, honestly, it was enough of a distinction that you could tell it was cybernetic or robotic, but it still carried the characteristics of being human. So, as I said, I truly believe that they're doing this to kill two birds in one stone, and I think it's a smart move. I'm just kind of curious to know what's the nature of these guys, though. If they're pirates, if they're, like I said, like reavers, our own kind of... I don't know. That's very interesting. Anyway, we'll see what they do with that. I'm sure they'll give us updates about what they are as the game progresses. Anyway, guys, so that's about everything for this week's Citizens Corner. Short, concise, to the point. As I said, check out that one package, the Off-Road Vehicle Pack Warbond LTI, if you're looking to get yourself a nice set of ground vehicles for a reasonable price.
Or for $20 more, you can get the exact same package at $110. I can't tell the difference between the two.
Well, one is cash only, like first I could purchase it first time only, and the other one is cost if you're doing a CCU to something. So the Warbond ones are always the straight out pocket ones.
Oh, okay, that's the difference then. I'm like, it's like the same pack. What's the what?
Yeah, that's the difference. So you get a little discount for a little bit more cash flow in there. Oh, actually, you know what? There is one last point I want to address just really fast.
Oh no, here it comes.
No, simple. There was a forum post that I was reading, and I kind of had a chuckle at it. The person was railing at CIG about the fact that he wanted a refund on his game packages, and he had spent like $570 something, and CIG was only going to refund him $216 something for to close his package. He was upset because apparently he had bought a lot of ships, or a few ships or whatnot, off the gray market. And CIG wasn't going to refund him his gray market ship money. And I kind of had to chuckle about that, because it's like if I bought a Ford car at a Ford dealership and another Ford car at Benny's Used Fords, and then took both cars back to Ford and said, "Give me my money back," and do you think that the Ford dealership's going to give me money from the car that I bought in Benny's Used Fords? No. You bought it from a secondhand dealer. You bought it from. You have to contact the guy. Either you have to sell your ships back on the gray market first and then ask for your account to be closed, or just eat the loss. I'm sorry, but you're dealing with a gray market. That is one of your hamstrings that you're going to have to deal with. If you ever decide you do want to close your account because you're impatient and you're upset that the game's not out yet, you're kind of stuck unless you do exactly that. So anyway, I thought that was kind of a funny one. So, all right, you guys, have yourself a great weekend. We will get back to you on the Blastcast on Tuesday and talk about all the fun stuff they have there. I want to probably watch ATV. I've already watched it twice, but I'll probably give it another look or so. All right, guys. Catch you later.